Right, so what I'll demonstrate is setting a line of type in metal type as it was done from Gutenberg's time right through till the 1890s. Every letter in every book was set this way, and it was only when mechanical typesetting came in then and gradually took over that it reduced. It was still used for other purposes later on. So your essential parts you have are a composing stick, which I've got in my hand here, and the more modern ones were adjustable for length. So I've got a little brass setting rule specially shaped, which you put in the stick to set the length precisely so that you know your measure is going to be correct for every line you're setting and match up with other ones somebody else might set. You have two cases of type for the bulk setting. You've got an uppercase and a lowercase. That one's got capitals and small capitals, and this one's got the lowercase. The lowercase has got different size compartments because, of course, some letters are more common than others in whichever language you're working in. So in English, E is the biggest box, and ones like Q are quite small, and you've got the individual letters in there. So what I do then is I have my copy. I simply look at that, work out what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to set, in fact, now is the time for all good men to come to the party. So what you do is you pick out the letters one at a time from the boxes and assemble them in the composing stick, one at a time. And what you'll notice is I'm not actually looking at the letters to see they're the right ones. I trust that they're the correct ones in the boxes. What I'm doing is looking to see which way up they go. Every letter, you get the E, has got a small notch in it to determine which way up it goes. I've got a giant version of one here, I'll show you. There's a giant model of a letter, and there's the nick, as it's called, that indicates which way around the letter goes, indicates the foot of the letter. So you're assembling the letters in the stick with the notches or the nicks at the top, and I've got to, now is the time, so that they all line up. And because you're putting them in, as a result of that, upside down, you're going to find that when you turn them right way up, the line's back to front, which is mirror image, what you need in order to make the print come out the right way when you print it. So, all good men, in 2. Right, so a little bit like touch typing. So that's your first skill, is picking out the correct letters, putting them in. There's a box down here with spaces, little bits of metal that are shorter than the others, so they're not going to make a mark when you print with them. When you get to the end of the line, it's not going to quite fit. It'll either be slightly short or slightly too long. You have to decide whether you're going to break the word at the end of the hyphen, and there are rules about where you can put hyphens in so it makes sense. But you then decide whether to space out the line or reduce the spacing. And to help you doing that, you've got boxes with different size spaces in the case. I've been putting in what are called mid spaces. That's a quarter of the square of the size of the type in between the words. But I've also got boxes with a third or a thick. I've got ones with a half or a nut or an N, it's called. You get squares called M's and multiples of them, and you get thins, which are a fifth of the square. You also get very thin pieces of metal called hair spaces, and in a way you're cheating if you start getting to use those on an ordinary line, but you can at times need to use those. So you go back, and in this case the line's slightly slack, so I change the spaces for slightly thicker ones, but I choose where to put them so that they're going to be the least noticeable. So if there's two tall letters near each other, I can put a thicker space in and the eye is less likely to notice. So the next skill is choosing where to put these spaces and getting them in so that the line is going to look evenly spaced, even though it's slightly erratic, and get it to be nice and firm but not jammed tight. So I've got it now so it's firm but not jammed completely tight. So I'm not forcing the last space in. You'd then repeat this process to fill the stick up with lines, so you get 6 or 7 lines into a stick like this, and the next stage then is to transfer that into a galley. You would pick the line out using your fingers at the ends to push it in and at the sides to pick it up, and if you've got leads, the little lead strips that are put between the lines to space them out, around it, that'll make it even easier, but you can pick it up without them. You squeeze it, pick it up like that, and put it in a galley to assemble your column of type that you're going to print with. Right. Let's imagine I've set my galley there. I take that, I then transfer that to the stone, the flat surface in which I'm going to be assembling all the type. So if I take that and move it across, turn it round, I've got a job being assembled here, and I've already set some type, so I would then put this line, or these lines if I've set several, in with the other ones to build up my block of text ready to print. And in this particular case, just put a space in it, hold it up, I've got 3 different colours I'm going to print. So I've got one with little flowers to go around the edge and a title, I've got leaves to go in between the flowers and an initial letter, and then my text I'm setting with a gap left specially to fit in the initial letter. It's fitted in a metal frame called a chase. Wood spacing, or more modern plastic spacing, is fitted round about it, called furniture, and wedges are put in round about to tighten it up and hold it in place. They are called coins. These are the modern ones with a screw system where you just screw a wedge up between 2 other pieces and it expands. The original ones were simple wooden wedges that were hammered together to tighten up the type. And when you've done all of that, you end up with it locked together so it will stay in place and not fall out. Oh, that one's slightly loose, so we'll have to check that one in a second, in order to handle it and pass it on to the next stage in the process. I've got a full page set up on a machine over here, so if you want to see, I'll go on to the next stage and actually show you that. Once you've assembled all the lines, together with any other bits, this is a more elaborate page. I've got headings in more elaborate type at the top in larger sizes. I've got little decorative pieces that are made like type assembled in with them as well. Extra spacing between the lines, and your furniture and your coins wedging in place. So that's all ready to take a test print. So I put it onto a suitable machine. This is a proof press with a flat bed. There's different types of machines. That's the name for this type. In this case, it's going to apply the ink. You could just roll the ink on by hand, but in this case I'm going to put it on using a power inking system on the machine. So I'll take my tin ink, sorry, it should be a nice pristine tin with a clean surface on the top, but I'm a very messy printer and my tins have all got skin on the top, which most printers would be horrified at. Right, so if I switch on the cylinder underneath that drives it round, drop the rollers onto it, it will now spread the ink over the rollers. Put this tin out of the way. Once that's spread around, and this roller goes back and forwards to spread the ink, once that's spread on evenly, I can run it across the type to put some ink on, and then find a sheet of paper to print on. Here, so just these sheets in, position the sheet of paper, and there's grippers that pop up when I press the treadle to hold the paper, micrometers to position exactly in place and at the side, so the sheet's going exactly the same place every time, a lever to turn the print on and make a print rather than just miss and go over the type, and run it along to print, and it lets go the grippers at the far end, and I end up with a sheet with the print. Now this machine's nice and simple to use, and now very popular with artists and others to do prints, because you can do much more experimental things than these on it.